Hello everyone, this is Jeremy and welcome to episode 33 of Enigmatica 2 Expert, where I just started up another batch of celestial crystals for growing. And between videos I've grown up 8 celestial crystals apparently. These are all pure max stat crystals. Excellent for crafting, for use for rituals, and so on and so forth. But we'll get back to these later. The spirit of this build is we can do this and then we can leave. And in about half an hour to an hour when we come back, that set of crystals should all be grown and we should have 18 pure stat crystals. We'll check back on that later. First thing I want to do today is, well, let's start by doing some of our maintenance tech. Oh, I never turned this thing back on. These mob spawns are still, whoopsies. I forgot to take this out of the peaceful thing out of the controller last night when I signed off. So I guess we generated 0 pieces of armor yesterday, which has the side effect though of not degrading our electrodes. Alright, well then I don't have maintenance tasks to do today. I have horses in my blood altar. You don't want to be there, buddy. Anyways, today I would like to start by doing the ritual, the Well of Suffering, over our blood altar so that we can start automatically generating life essence. For this, I need 36 runes. So these are, ritual stones, sorry. We need 36 regular ritual stones and 1 master. This needs at minimum a magician's tier blood orb. So that's a block of thaumium dipped into our altar. We can actually make the next tier one, right? We already have a tier 4 altar. We may as well skip to... Nope, that's 1 tier too high. Okay, a weak blood shard dipped in the altar, and I just have to poke myself a whole lot during the crafting, because it uses 40,000 LP, and our altar only holds 10,000. By my back of the napkin calculations, this craft takes a bit over a minute, and we have to drain 30,000 LP into the altar during that minute. Because, you know, the altar starts with 10,000, and it takes 40,000 to do the craft. So I don't actually... It's entirely conceivable that I don't have enough... like my regen is not enough to do this craft, but I guess we'll find out. It'll be close. Obviously, if I die during it, then not worth. So I'm gonna try to not give my last heart to it. But I think we're not halfway through. It's a race. I know this is the exciting content you come here for, to watch those little hearts tick by in the bottom left. No, it's not looking good. Hang in there. Now would be a great time for you to finish crafting. It technically can briefly run out. It just progresses backwards while it runs out, right? And it progresses backwards at 50 LP a tick, whereas it only progresses forwards at 30 LP a tick. So I might have needed a little bit of a boost to make it. Well, darn. So I was just crafting a little bit more thaumium to make the blood orb, and I did the thing I was always afraid I would do. I right-clicked my tablet on the crucible and melted it down. I have no clue why that's a feature. But you're allowed to right-click things on the crucible, and if you do, it's as if you had thrown it inside. So yeah, I'm out my... You can see this empty slot here. I am out my wireless tablet. I have to make another one. Womp womp. At least the subsequent terminals are easier to make than the first one. And I didn't have an infinity card in it, so I just lost a magna card. No big deal, but it is awfully annoying that that feature even exists. Whatever. I'll live. We'll go back and make that tier 4 blood orb later, but for now let's do the tier 3 because it uses less blood. I think it was only 25,000, so I should easily be able to put the 15,000 into the altar that it needs during the crafting process. This one, strangely, actually crafts faster, like in terms of LP per tick drain from the altar, than the tier 4. So there's like a very slim chance that I'll be unable to do this, in which case things get awkward and I have to actually put some effort into making my blood altar better than a tier 0 blood altar, but... Oh no, don't do this to me. Come on, finish crafting soon. Please. I threw my wireless tablet into the abyss for you. Ah! Alright. We failed. two ways to address the problem I'm having. We can either make more blood or have a higher blood capacity in the altar to begin with. I'm going to go with the latter because these runes are a bit more useful in the long term than the self-sacrifice runes, which will allow us to make more blood. So by putting 5 runes of capacity on here, I believe each one adds 2,000 to the altar. So our altar should now, yeah, here we go, hold 20,000. Which means if we start with a fully filled 20,000 altar, we should actually be able to craft the tier 4, I expect. As they say, third time's a charm. I wish I could see the crafting progress, but until we make a seer sigil, we can't. We can just estimate based on how long the item's been there. We've got to be getting close at this point. So if we didn't have runes before, we would have run out of LP at this point. But we have the extra runes. And it should be done any second now. Any second now. I'm starting to get scared. We're down to our last... there we go. Okay, good. So we made a 6,000 LP to spare. We made a Master Blood Orb. Excellent. This will allow us to craft ritual stones, which can then let us get into the rituals. Let's craft 36 ritual stones. Very good. The only challenge there were those 36 slates, and I had to craft those. And then we also need an activation crystal. So if we take this, dip it in here, it's only 10,000 LP. That should give us enough LP to activate the ritual, or rather that should make the activation crystal. And now we just need 50,000 LP in our life essence network to activate it. So right now we have 3,000. It's not quite enough. So I'm going to dip our blood orb in here and bleed into the altar for what is hopefully the last time. While our altar fills the orb, let's build the rituals. So it should go a handful of blocks above the mat or above your blood altar. I don't actually know. I think 2 blocks is a minimum to clear your altar caps. Any more than that is optional. You can go like up to 10 blocks or so higher. Place the Master Ritual Stone, and then just right-click it with your Ritual Diviner, which I have here. You see the shape of the thing, so just make sure we're clear of our altar caps. Yeah, we're clear by like 2 blocks. So right-click it until it places all the blocks. And when you're done with that, you should right-click it with your weak activation crystal to begin. But it says I am too weak to begin the ritual because I still don't have 50,000. I'm only at 17. So, leading away. I've had to refill my meat feeder like 5 times so far today. In fact, this tank was full at the start of the day. So I have eaten almost 900 millibuckets, or 900 buckets, 900 square meters, or cubic meters of liquid meat today. Boy, am I a fatty. Anyways, for my fattiness, I have 50,000 LP in my life essence network. So, right-click it, it activates, and then apply a redstone signal to it so that it stops. The ritual is still activated. It turns back on again if we just flip the lever, but we're not paying the constant upkeep cost for it while it's off because it's not doing anything yet. Well, I guess technically it does do something when it runs, right? It damages nearby mobs to put LP in the essence, or LP in the altar. That's why these horses probably didn't want to stay here, but they were probably trapped anyways. So as we can see, as they take damage, every time they take damage, a little bit of LP goes into the altar. The amount isn't terribly high because, for 1, there's only 2 horses, and for 2, we don't have any sacrifice runes. So, first thing we want to do is make sure we have a steady supply of mobs to be sacrificed. For that, I'm going to set up a villager spawner above here. Passive mobs do better than, or passive mobs give more LP than hostiles. And I think villagers give more than most passive mobs as well. So we're going to use the industrial foregoing spawner and just spawn in a bunch of villagers. We've had this villager in a safari net, or in a golden lasso since the start of the pack, I think. So it's time to shine. I'm like 80% sure this spawner is self-regulating. So when this area gets sufficiently full of villagers, it just stops spawning. Now, if I just leave the villagers here, they're going to die. That's suboptimal because, I mean, if the villagers die, we have to pay to spawn them again. So I'm going to take our environment controller here and set it to... Is there somewhere? Yeah, here we go. All. This makes it take more energy. 6,000? Yeah, 6,000 arithmetic. That's basically 0. But it applies... no, it doesn't. Hold on. It's supposed to apply its regen to all mobs in the area. Do I just have to toggle it once? Radius 155 through... Oh, they might be too high. Yeah, they're a little above 70. Alright, let's go 55 to 80. Not 0 to 80. 55 to 80. And now, there we go. They're receiving both regen and the damage, and the regen effect is stronger than the Well of Suffering damage effect, which will automatically keep them topped up. So, there we go. Now we have automated LP generation, and it does cost a little bit of life essence out of my life essence network, so I periodically do have to dip a blood orb in here to speed things up, or to like recharge my LP network. But as you can see, we fill like 2,000 LP per second. That's way more than I can do by poking myself. And I think time in a bottling that, yeah, does cause us to generate LP faster, but it also murders the villagers. So, you know, give and take. Oh, maybe it doesn't murder the villagers. I can't tell which is... They seem to be regenerating at the same rate. So maybe the first tick doesn't murder the villagers. The sound of villagers suffering is too loud for me. So we will mute them. The sound muffler is... I mean, you can guess what it does. It muffles sound. So now that we have LP production automated, we, by and large, can start inserting stacks of items into the altar instead of single items, so we cut back on that, you know, that little bit of time at the start and end of each craft where we're waiting on item extraction and insertion and the process to start. Along with that, let's put extract speed upgrades in here so it withdraws the whole stack in one go. And I think we're ready to start upgrading our altar. So all of these blank runes, and in fact, we can make a tier 5 altar quite easily. We just replace the stone bricks with any rune, but we can swap these for functional runes. So of the functional runes, there are, let's see, a few that are more useful than others. Capacity is a nice beginner rune, but we eventually want to use augmented capacity. Capacity is additive, plus 2,000 LP per rune, whereas augmented is multiplicative plus, or times, I think like 20% more per rune. There's a magic number, I think it's around 13 or 16, at which point capacity is better, and then any more than that, you know, because of the exponential nature of exponential scaling, these get way better, way faster. So we want some of these, some speed runes, you can guess what those do. Sacrifice runes, so those make the damaging of the villagers generate more mana, and that's probably it. I don't think we need to do anything fancy with these exotic runes this time. So I'll probably go for, let's see, what does this take? Demonic Slates, a tier 4. Ooh. All right, let's start with a bunch of sacrifice runes then. Ooh, crystal sword. Does this have to be a max statted sword? Let's see if we can craft this with not max statted swords. If it does have to be max statted crystal swords, I mean, good thing we have our rock crystal production automated, but still, 1 sword per 3 runes means that if I want 50 runes, I need 17 swords. That's a lot of, that's 34 rock crystals. Anyways, here's 18, so what I can... that's kind of what we expected, right? So let's start the next cycle here. Just in each of these, right, we grab the rock crystals, put the smaller one back. We'll use the larger one for crafting. I do that specifically because the smaller one, you probably can't cut this one up to cutting 100 without destroying the crystal. If the size reaches 0, obviously the crystal ceases to exist. So yeah, I cut the larger one and have the smaller one regrow into more crystals. When making crystal swords, the stats are determined by the crystals you use. Naturally. Oh, just a bit not dark enough. Hold on, let's make it nighttime. Man, love it. Alright, so if we use just 2 regular crystals, the sword we get is going to be relatively low quality. So this sword just has, you know, bleh stats. However, if we make it with 2 of these crystals, it adds the size and takes the average of the purity and cutting, I believe. Lag spike. I'm back. And this should give us a very good sword. You can see the difference reflected in just the damage straight up. But right now I just want to test if the sacrifice rune is picky about whether, does it actually require these exact stats or not. Looking at this, the recipe does accept the crappy crystal sword. So that does mean I don't have to use my good crystals on it, although crystal sword's a good sword. Maybe we'll use it for something later. But because we can use crappy crystal swords for runes of sacrifice, I can make all the runes of sacrifice I want, which is good. Anyways, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and fill in probably all of these runes. There's no reason not to, including the tier 5 ones. I'm also going to... Actually, yeah, let's just start with that. Altar is fully upgraded, and when I went to look at making the tier 6 altar, those require crystal clusters as the cap, and crystal clusters appear to be disabled. Or just, they weren't enabled. They're disabled by default, so... I guess we don't get a tier 6 altar, and that's fine. We don't need a tier 6 altar. With that, then I think we are done with blood magic progression. We could automate the full production of these slates, but these take living rock as input, and I don't need a lot of them. I might need a couple more rituals for a couple other things, but time in a bottle. I can craft on demand with the time in a bottle just fine. Oopsies. So I'm not going to bother fully automating the production of slates. With that, then I think we are basically done blood magicking. Let's go now switch gears back to Astral, where we should have 26 crystals. Haha. And that's probably I'm not even going to start the next batch now. That's just enough. Where hopefully we can now upgrade our Starlight crafting altar to the Celestial altar. Is that the next tier, or did I skip one? Yeah, the Celestial altar. We should be able to make this. And we even have enough Starlight to do this craft during the day. So, this will upgrade it'll upgrade the altar in place. So we then have to upgrade the multi-block around it as soon as it's done. Hurry up. And we should probably pick it up because I suspect that completes the quest. There we go. This is a tier in Astral Sorcery where things really start getting good. So in no particular order, we've now unlocked the Attunement Altar, the Starlight Infuser, we've already had the rituals unlocked, but now we really have access to all the rituals, especially the good ones, and the Celestial Collector Crystal, which is how we power the rituals to make them good. So, let's start with the Attunement Altar, because I guess technically we had access to this earlier. But we have to attune ourselves to a constellation before we can really seriously dive in. I guess we have to start with the telescope. We have to discover constellations before we can dive into them. So, for now, we have to make glass lenses the hard way. Do we? No, we don't. Change of plans a third time in 3 seconds. We're going to start with the Starlight Infuser because this makes it easiest to make the lenses. So far, I've been crafting lenses this way, but this is 30 steps. By 30 steps, I mean 3. But it's 3 steps as opposed to 1 in the Starlight Infuser. The Starlight Infuser, like most things in Astral Sorcery, require a multi-block to be built around them to function. So we'll build it probably just right over here. Oh look, more quests complete. We have a lot of quests complete too. Lots of quest rewards just waiting to be taken. Starlight Infuser is all set up. I even put the automation-y bits in. So there's a mechanical user that right-clicks the item into the Starlight Infuser. Another one right-clicks it with the resonating wand to start the craft. And a advanced item collector picks up the result when it's done. For now, because I don't have a way to I do have ways to automatically refill the Starlight, but it's non-trivial. We could put, fluid formation planes above it or something. But for now, I'll just manually refill the Starlight if it gets drained. In a little bit, we'll get a tool from Astral Sorcery that will automatically refill it for us, which will make it a little bit easier. So we'll just wait for that. But anyways, this gives us a few glass lenses, and let's go make the telescope now to go see some constellations. For now, we can only see the major constellations. So if we just tab through here, here's one of them. At Visio, so you have to play a little game of connect the dots. When you discover constellations when you pick up the constellation paper for the first time. So if you're unfamiliar with it, and you can double check with these constellation papers or in this constellation tab to like find your pictures. And then we can play this connect the dots game. And it looks like that's the only one that's out tonight. So that's not very good. We want more than one constellation. So we sleep, make it night, and it's now the next night. There's another one. This one is, I don't know. I'm gonna go through this process until I have them all marked out. Which one is this? I've done this so many times, and yet I still have to refer to the book. Is this Armara? Maybe? I think so. Yeah, for sure. I've now discovered all 5 of the beginner constellations, or the major constellations, I think they're called. At this point, I want to then make the Attunement Altar so I can attune myself to one of them. The Attunement Altar is the largest of the Astral Sorcery multi-blocks, needing, I think it's like 21 by 21 space. Probably under the Attunement tab, if I had to guess. So, hopefully we can squeeze it onto our platform here. Where are you? Here it is. So, no, 19 by 19. But, yeah, it's just a large sheet of marble. And we should be able to fit it over here, right? 19 is one chunk. Yeah, we can fit, like... We'll move the bed and we can make it fit. You'll know when your Attunement Altar is built when there's these, like, little white particles all over it. To use it, you want to first make it nighttime, or wait for it to be nighttime, then hold a constellation paper in your offhand, and you should see little blue cloud-like things. Place one of these relays, spectral relays, on each of the clouds, and when you do that, the thing should start humming if the constellation is out this given night. So it is. You'll notice that there's still mobs here. I'm too far away from my base to be under the effects of the thing there preventing mob spawns. I'll put a ritual up here to prevent mob spawns later. But anyways, once it's humming, walk into it, and it does a thing. Oh, wow, it's doing a lot of damage to me. That's a lot of damage. I don't think I'm actually taking damage. But anyways, this will attune me to this constellation. There are perks for, like, different constellations have different perks. I'll show you those in a second. But this late in the game, with the tech that we have now, they're not terribly meaningful. So I'm not going to bother with the perk system all too much. We just have to attune ourselves to a major constellation so that we can see minor constellations. And looks like we're still not quite done. Ooh, I can see the light. We're attuned. So when you're attuned, you gain this perks tab. Since I attune myself to a Vorcio, we gain experience by breaking blocks, but there's 5 different ones here. I'll probably, I don't know, I'll do something with these perks, but they're by and large like nice little utility things. Maybe I'll take the one that gives me a cheat death. There's a cheat death effect in here somewhere. Maybe. Possibly. Here we go. Can save you from death. So if you were to die, you don't die. But that's a thing for later. Another thing you can attune with these is, instead of attuning yourself, you can attune celestial crystals or rock crystals, but there's little reason to attune a basic rock crystal. So by throwing the celestial crystal there, waiting a little while, you can probably time in a bottle it if you're impatient like I am. Does that work? I think so. You can attune the rock crystal to the constellation. So now this is a attuned celestial crystal to a Vorcio. The Vorcio is not actually a constellation. I want to attune these two, so I'm only going to do 2. What I do want to do is the constellation of... is it Avedius? Is the one that makes mobs not spawn? Let's, we can read. This does tell us. Ritual effect. Nope, Avedius makes things grow. Visio makes things fly. Dissidia, I believe, damages things. Damages enemies. Armara. Shoot. deflects projectiles. So I guess the one I'm looking for is a secondary constellation. That's fine. Now that I've attuned myself to a constellation, if I pick up additional pieces of constellation paper, you see we've discovered additional constellations. I believe there are 6 secondary constellations, something like that. These constellation papers do have crafting recipes, but instead of crafting them, which is a lot of work, I'm just going to go out into the world and raid a couple more of these temples. They look like this temple, but I think I've already raided that one. Each one contains at least a couple pieces, so if we can find a couple more, hopefully I can discover all the constellations. After we memorize a drawing of them, then we can use this to... Oh, in fact, there's one here right now. Who are you? I have no clue. I think these little altars do have a chest that can contain constellation papers, but not always. And I don't know, is it 1 chest per or 2? I think the big altars always contain constellation papers, whereas the little ones is only a chance. We got 2 right here, so 2 more. I'm going to go until I find enough constellation papers that I have 4 blank ones. Those 4 will be for the 3rd tier constellations that we'll discover in a little bit. Dargan. Let's steal his loot. Die. Noob. Wasn't really anything here. Maybe this is a bit optimistic of me, but I was hoping that if I could find 4 pieces of Californium 250, I can skip a whole lot of nuclear craft stuff down the line. But no such luck. Oh look, another dragon. Die, give me your... Where are you? I see your nest. Where's the dragon? Well, if the dragon's at home, I'll just take his loot. But yeah, if I get 4 pieces of Californium 250, I get to skip some nuclear craft down the line. Where's my laser gun? Got it. This is plenty of constellation paper. With a little bit extra to spare. So, with that, let's move on. So, the next thing to do is probably to discover, or now that I've memorized all the constellations, it's to actually discover them. So we're going to go through a couple more nights where we scan for constellations in the sky, like this one. This should be just about the last constellation here. You can check in your book under constellations. If you've discovered it, it looks like this. If you haven't, it looks like this. We haven't discovered Horologium, or we haven't discovered Horologium yet because it only spawns every 36 days, and we honestly just don't need it yet. When we need it, we already know exactly when it'll come up. Whoopsies. Because if we check our little note here, where did I put the note? It spawned on day 96. So 96 mod 36 is something. Basically, every 36 days after that, we can see that. We are currently on day 1580. But you can calculate exactly which day Horologium comes up on if you've ever seen it once or if you've ever seen the eclipse once. Alright, so now I want to put up a peaceful ritual to prevent all those mobs from spawning around our Astral Sorcery area. Let's figure out which constellation that is now. Is it Lucerna? Ritual effect. Prevents hostiles from spawning. Cool. So, let's go get our Lucerna paper. Clean up our inventory a little bit. Good enough. Head back here and convert our altar to a Lucerna altar. So I just have to move the little dots around. I'm gonna go attune 3 crystals to this constellation. 2 for the ritual and 1 for crafting. I don't honestly know if we need the 1 for crafting or not, but this pack uses enough random crafting recipes in the Celestial Altar. Is this? No, the next tier altar. Iridescent Altar. That we may or may not need it down the line. And I have enough to spare, so easy enough just to attune an extra one now to not have to switch the altar up later. Build a ritual pedestal and its corresponding multi-block as documented in the book. and then place a Attune Celestial Crystal in there, it'll start shining to show that the effect is happening. And because this is a Lucerna ritual, we get peaceful in the area. So if I make it nighttime, I don't know exactly how big the radius is, but we should see that, you know, hey, look, no mob spawning up here. We can look up the radius here, I believe. The rituals. Any of these rituals? No, it's in the configs, but I guess it's not in the in-game checkable configs. I just checked the config. This prevents spawning in a 256 block radius. So that actually reaches all the way to our base. I just want a quick sanity check, make sure I see damage numbers. Make sure it's not preventing mob spawning from our spawners. I mean, our cursed earth isn't spawning mobs anymore, by and large, because I haven't rebooted the server recently. So we have the cursed earth bug, but I just want to make sure this thing is capable of spawning mobs. And it is. Good. We can turn you off now. I don't need any more of these. That does allow us to pull this thing out. And maybe there's a chance that that does not interfere with this thing spawning. We'll wait a cycle, see if any mobs pop out. Hey, look at that! Excellent. If for whatever reason that's not enough for you, we can upgrade one of our Attune Celestial Crystals to a Collector Crystal. And that's kind of like the floating crystals from those shrines, except this is a very, very powerful one because it's made from a perfect crystal. So if we, there's a multi-block, we have to build around this one as well. You guessed it, this Astral Sorcery is all about them multi-blocks. So it's documented here. Build this thing around it, and then we can shine the light at the ritual for even more effect. You'll know when you have this thing built right again because of particle effects and lag apparently. So link that, oopsies, right click, link that to that, and it'll start shining a beam of light, as you see there. Then you'll see a beam of light reflects off from there. So what you want to do then is grab some lenses, and I made perfect lenses here. The lens inherits stats from the crystal you crafted out of, so for this ritual in particular, it actually doesn't matter the quality of either this collector crystal or the lenses you use in this step, but generally speaking, it does matter. So I like to just have a bunch of perfect lenses on hand for this. And place the lens on the outside ring of the ritual multi-block. It just conveniently fits on 2 marble pillars, looks halfway decent that way. And reflect the light back at the ritual pedestal. And each time you do it, ooh, lag. Lots of lag today. Each time you do it, a new beam of light should show up. In total, you should get 5 of these. And once you do all 5, a little animation should show up here underneath the ritual pedestal. It can be a little faint during the day. I do have all 5, right? It should show the constellation. Here, let's see if we can see it more clearly at night. Yeah, you can kind of see it here. This constellation gets animated, and that means that you have now powered up your ritual. So this ritual, for each light beam we're reflecting back into it, increases the radius by 64 blocks. So we have 5 times 64 is 320, so 256 plus 320 is like a billion. So there's no mob spawning in a billion block radius around us now. Excellent. I'm going to build another one of these structures, this time using, I'm going to turn our Evorcio crystal into a collector crystal as well, and build another structure like that to power our celestial altar. So you see right now our altar is not at full power, but if we build one of those celestial collector thingies and shine it at the altar, I bet it will be at full. For the purposes of boosting your altar, it doesn't really matter what constellation your crystal is attuned to, as long as it's one of the major constellations. So now we can see we have full starlight power, and quite likely, even during the day, we should have full or very nearly full starlight power. We have full during the day as well. So we are now no longer, there's no meaningful benefit to crafting at night anymore. there's still one more tier to go in the altar, and I think the highest tier altar might still benefit from nighttime a little bit. So let's upgrade our altar to that right now. Assuming we can. Is there anything here we can't make yet? We can do that. It's going to take a little bit of crafting, but we can do that. Okay, so there's a lot of sub-steps here. I have to make an alchemy table. I have to make a our master blood orb is good enough. Okay, yeah, just a bunch of crafting. 1 second. We have to do a little bit of crafting on the blood magic alchemy table. This takes a blood orb in the blood orb slot. It drains a little bit of LP from your life essence network to craft. I actually have never figured out what goes in this slot, but doesn't seem to be required. Anyways, I also need a puffer fish. I guess the easiest way is probably to turn a fish into that, right? So, can we make this? Yeah. Currently have no fish, so I'm going to get a fishing rod. I don't even know what I got. Sure, luck of the sea. That seems good. And we're gonna go catch a fish to turn into a puffer fish. Of course, with my luck, we could just catch a puffer fish. Give me a puffer fish. 1 puffer fish, please. Any day now. I am incredibly impatient when it comes to fishing. Here it is. That's not a puffer fish. We can turn that, yeah, into a fish. Alright. Then we can turn this fish into a puffer fish. Fish has been places. Put the catalyst underneath the mana pool, and the mana pool can now do that special type of recipe. So, transmute a few times, and we have a puffer fish. Turn the puffer fish into pufferfish poison, or neurotoxin, and turn that into this thing. That's now all the components for the celestial altar. So, craft, speed up. That takes way too long. Wait, did it? Oh, I guess I overclocked it. If you try to make it speed up too much, it'll fail. Dang it. Alright, we have to wait for the time in a bottle to wear off. Let's try that again with less time in a bottle. There we go. So pick this up to complete the quest, and then I guess it needs an extra block around it. The multi-block this time is very easy to upgrade because it just involves adding a couple more components onto the existing one. So, oopsies, not that one. Wait, yes, this one. No, not that one. Where's my... Does it not require adding anything? No, it does. Where's my documentation page on it? And in standard astral sorcery fashion, particles means you're doing it right. I also realized apparently I built my thing here 1 block offset from the center line. Whoopsies, I hope that upsets you as much as it upsets me, because that's all the time we have today, so I'm not fixing it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. We'll be back next time to put this altar to use. And I think we're also ready to perhaps get back to the fusion crafting thing, right? I forget why we got distracted in the first place. We needed one of these altars or something. So we have it now. Woohoo. Yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.